So let's see. I got Flea in the chat room with me and stuff like that. We only got 3 people right now, so actually that one says 5. So I wonder which one actually is more correct. That's all right. There's only a difference of 2. I'll go for 5. 5 people in here. We got a premiere. So yesterday's video was a pretty good hike. It was funny because I don't know what causes YouTube to sometimes take down. I know people can retract their statements and stuff. I left that option open on my board just because sometimes we word something that doesn't sound good. I mean, I know we've all done that. We'll put up something meaning it one way, but then when you reread it, you catch it and you're like, oh, that doesn't sound right. And it's trying to read emotions from text, which we all do, and that's not a good thing because that's what the emojis are usually for, so you can tell a person, put emojis, that way they know you're joking or whatnot. But yeah, just trying to be, what do they call that, like empathy or something, like trying to read emotions. I do it a lot. There's certain people that they put a lot of stock into reading people's body language and stuff like that and trying to gauge more or less what type of person they are, how they're feeling. And we put a lot of stock in that, maybe too much. And we base a lot of our decisions on what we think they're thinking. And I think we all do that with text messages when we really shouldn't, because I know we've all read, messages in the wrong way and stuff. So, but anyway, what was I talking about that for? So anyway, yeah, that's why I leave the retraction open, because I know it's sometimes good to take down or edit. A lot of times I misspell stuff and I say things wrong anyway all the time, so it's good for me to take my own stuff down. I edit almost everything, but I noticed something. If you're on someone else's board, and like I went over to Hidden Hammock, and I edited something a few times because I thought, oh, no, that's wrong. I better, change the spelling on that, or oops, that didn't come out right. So I edited it like 2 times, and it just didn't. YouTube's like, okay, we're gonna hang on to your comment here because Hidden Hammock says I got the original one, but I didn't get the repost for some reason. So it's probably, I don't know. I edited it like 3 times, and then YouTube's like, what's going on here? And so, but really, I think that's only happened to me once. Meaning, I had someone put up a post of a trail I should hike, right? And I'm not sure if they took it, just disappeared into the ether because I couldn't find it later. I wanted to cut that little comment into my videos showing, what it said, but I couldn't find it. So I'm not sure if they retracted it. There's no reason for them to retract it because it was just a suggestion of actually going on a certain trail for getting to, like, basically the Turtle Rock is what I went out to. You saw that video, and I went out basically in the same area because the spot I scouted out, I wanted to go hiking, was the same distance as actually going to their suggestion. And when I looked up on like Google Maps, the pictures and stuff, it looked way better. It was like a paved road that goes all the way up to, what is it, up to like some cell towers and stuff. And yeah, it was a pretty cool hike, man, along the way. Yeah, it was a pretty cool hike because I went up on the paved and then down on the dirt. So that'll be at 11. I'll have that premiered. So good. My notifications seem to actually have gone out today. They didn't seem to go out yesterday, so that's good. And it seems like all the checks and balances on my videos are going out, or my videos are getting checked pretty quickly. Because I just upload it real fast. Like, so when I'm done with the video, I don't try and do the thumbnail and all the description because that still takes time. I just upload it. And because if there's a problem with the upload, and I went through all the process of actually putting in that information first, then I had to re-put it in anyway. So just one of those lessons I learned. I was like, okay, yeah, this is not the right way to do this. I just need to upload it to a private file first, and then while I'm messing around on doing the thumbnail and stuff like that, YouTube has a chance to actually go over it with a fine. I don't give them the 24 hours though. I don't give them the 24 to 48 because I want to try and stay as, I'm trying to keep it as close to the time I shoot it as possible. Like right now, Planet Doug, I saw yesterday, I think I caught up on his last video, but he's got a lot of them coming out. I think, in a 24-hour period, he ended up with 28 hours of raw material. And I put CC on one of his texts. So on his update, Flea, who told me about his update, so I ran over to see everything he was doing. And I started reading it right after I finished up the live stream. And by the time I was finished reading it, all in one sitting, I think the sun was going down. And I was like, well, there goes the whole day. That's why I put a CC because, well, if you know Doug, his texts are long, but they're interesting. So, yeah, so I read the whole thing. He didn't believe I read the whole thing. He's like, no, CC's for people that actually complete the mission. And I'm like, no, I completed the mission. I should have probably broke that up in sections, though. But, yeah, no, so I read his updates and stuff like that, and it looks like he's got a lot of videos coming out. So I got most of them. Even the last one was over on, if you guys don't know, Planet Doug has a behind-the-scenes channel, which I find interesting because he talks about more of the, stuff like technical issues and stuff like that, or just chats, does his podcast on that one. And anyway, today will be the last day here in this hostel. I spent enough time here. I was able to find a few things to do around here, which was cool and stuff, but I want to start heading up north because when monsoons do come in, I don't know where I might be trapped because one thing about the monsoons is it has a tendency to get you wet, when you're traveling through it. And once you get wet, you kind of need to go indoors. It's warm enough. Yeah, okay, Planet Doug's here. Yeah, CC, definitely. I was just talking about your update. I did go sit through, or I did finish it all. And I saw all the videos that you're going to be coming out with. So I really enjoyed the one, the one where you're talking about the GoPro and all that stuff, and right at the end, it just like mid-sentence, it cuts off, and then you show the batteries, how it basically expanded, you couldn't get it out, and that top of the battery ripped off. But it was funny how mid-sentence is just, the video stops. I was like, hey, that's kind of a surprise ending. I think I'll just start ending all my videos that way, like right in the middle of a conversation. With no explanation, though. Absolutely none. Just so I thought that was a nice touch how the video just ended like that. But I do enjoy the explanation why it ended that way. Hey, Hammock Mountain is here. Hammock Mountain came over from Josh's page over on Hidden Hammock. So. They got another stealth camper here. Hammock Mountain also has a YouTube channel that's interesting to go over there and check that out. Yeah, like if you like stealth camping and stuff like that, and also he does gear reviews and stuff like that. So yeah, check his channel out too. I like to. Anybody that likes to frequent here, I like to mention their channels if they got one. Now, I might not mention your channel if it's just a mess around channel. Like some people only put like 5 videos, a few shorts or something like that. And come on, you got to put a little time into your channel. And, but anyway, yeah, so Doug was yesterday talking about how he didn't, most YouTubers don't have the time to actually watch other people's, and it's right. Honestly, I haven't watched all of Doug's videos. Yeah, no, Flea. That's how I found out about it because it's one thing I don't do is I don't check the posts. I don't check over, especially if it's I don't check the posts and sometimes I don't pop over to the secondary channel, so I wouldn't have actually known without reading the update that he had posted one of his newer videos over on the behind the scenes channel. So that's how I found his other one where the battery blew up on him or expanded and died. He overheated. But it looked good where you're going by the 4:3 ratio to the 16:9. That looked actually pretty good. It didn't seem like, but so I had to go back and forth because had the uh, the 4:3 or 3:4 ratio, and then it expanded to the 16:9. So I went back and flipped back and forth to see how much actually cut off, and it wasn't a whole lot. And that was kind of interesting to see the transition between those two. And yeah, DJI does actually have 2K, it's 2.7K that you can set it in. And if you're, yeah, so it's 2.7, they do have that option. But you also make bad decisions. Hammock Mountain. Are you talking about with your channel or just in general? We all do. If you're a camper, you make bad decisions, especially if you're doing. I think a lot of times, like when it comes to like what people call stealth camping, I just call homelessness, right? Because that's kind of anytime you're camping. If it's not in designated like camping area, you're trespassing. Well, that's in the United States. That's how it is. Someone just told me here in Malaysia, you can't do private beaches, and I was like, oh wow, well that just opens up a whole new thing. Then basically, anywhere I'm camping on the beaches is fair game. Over in the United States, someone owns the beach. Not in all sections. Like in Hawaii, they kind of have the same rule. You can't own the beach, but a lot of that's owned by the state, so it's still owned. Just because the state owns it doesn't mean it's not owned. So like in the United States, that's how it is. It's almost like any spot that you call free, there's no free land America. So there's not a spot that you can go that's just not, that's like a neutral zone. Now, the Appalachian Trail and stuff was supposed to be that, so the Appalachian Trail, the person that first proposed the idea of the Appalachian Trail proposed it as an area when the cities got too big and stuff, there would be a common area that's just not owned by anybody that people more or less could go to and stuff. So I think he was more or less thinking almost community based, but obviously the state owns it. So when the state owns anything, laws and regulations come in, and you see that a lot with the national parks and stuff, where at one time all the rock climbers and stuff were staying with so long in the national parks, being going like hippie on it, that they really started like cracking down on how long you could actually stay in national parks. And up I think in Payson and stuff like this, there's still like and also in up by Mount Shasta, there's still spots that you can find that allow you to camp for like up to 5 months and stuff. But after a ranger sees like a camp in one spot for way too long, they're like, hey, get out, and it's only restricted for like 5 months because once winter starts coming around, they don't want to find a dead body in a tent. So but we all make bad mistakes when we start camping. It's funny because we get the knowledge, right, but then we kind of ignore the knowledge. Like I'll put a perfect example: cooking in camp and bear bagging. So like hanging your food from a limb and stuff, and cooking in camp. We all know that we're not supposed to cook in our camp, right? We all know that, right? Because that'll leave the smell of food and stuff in your camp, and that'll attract wildlife to your camp. So you need to be eating and preparing outside of camp. We don't. Honestly, we don't. And I remember actually seeing one of the episodes of Alone, where this is one of the guys that won, actually, he won. his pans and stuff were like right in his camp. And I was like, yeah, he was preparing in his camp, regardless of what people say and stuff. So that's one of those things we all know better, but we don't do it. Bear bags, like hanging your stuff from the trees. If you get enough rats and stuff to get into your food, I've had rats actually in Japan eat into my backpack to try and get to the food because my backpack was actually on the ground and not hanging from from the tree. Then you start to learn to use the bear bags just out of not because of a bear, but because of like rats and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff we just ignore, and ignoring those things causes us to make bad decisions. So yeah, hyperthermia is a result of bad decisions. And yeah, several times. I almost suffocated myself once in Marina, sleeping in the back of my car in the Calneva parking. It was a Calneva parking lot. I worked in the Calneva on the craps table and stuff, but I couldn't go back over Donner's Pass because it always got snowed over out to get to Lincoln where I was. So I would cross over during the weekends or weekdays, sleep in the parking lot in the back of my vehicle, and then back over to Lincoln to be around, like, my mom, my sister, her kids, and stuff like that during the weekends. And what happened was when winter started getting around, it was like, okay, get a bigger blanket and all this. And, it's like a little heater, like what do you say, a flameless heater and all this stuff. But this thing is, it was a newer car. It was one of those Dodge Magnum, like station wagon things that I was sleeping in the back. And that was airtight. So it's like, and you don't realize that once your oxygen is spent, it's just like you go to light a cigarette or something and the flame was like this high above the lighter. Not all flame, like nothing, and then just a flame up here, and you're like, what the hell? Like, oh, it's taking that long for enough oxygen just to actually mix in to actually cause a flame. And I was like, oh, open the door real fast, and people that are homeless in the wintertime, they do the same thing with covering up their tents with tarps and trying to winterize and trying to stay warm, actually. And luckily, like the Little Buddy heater, which is a very popular heater, a very good heater, has a switch off. So it detects when there's not enough fuel to oxygen mixture, and it just turns off. And listen to it. Don't think your Little Buddy's broken. Your Little Buddy heater's broken. It's not. It's saving your life. Anyway, sorry. There's a ramble for you guys. So yeah, I make a lot of bad decisions, but that's arrogance mixed with determination. Not arrogance. That's a stubbornness mixed with determination. When I'm on a trail, I want to get to the end of the trail. And I was like, the sun's going down. A little farther, one of those things. That's how I got stuck out on that hill in the dark. But I wasn't, it's like, I couldn't have really gotten lost. I was on a peninsula. You know what I'm saying? It was a peninsula. This way there's a street. I just didn't want to be on that street. I wanted to be on the other side where my bike was. So I could have walked all the way around. But I didn't. I tried to take the access road back over, and that just put me back in the jungle again. Anyway, that's a video you can watch. Yeah, I think it says, I don't remember. You look for the thumbnail where a guy's in the jungle in the dark. You'll see it. But let's see. And what is so Spinnaker, what is the most important lesson in life that you learned while cycling across Southeast Asia? Lesson. So I've been doing this a minute or two. So lessons, like life learned lessons and stuff, is just a continually evolving day-to-day process, no matter what you're doing. So like riding trains, And most of it's geared around the beauty of the places that you're passing through and stuff like this. And if you put everything together, it's just it's live your life to always pursue. Well, this is what my choice was, by the way, guys. Pursuing the adventures in life and not pursuing the comforts of life. So I gave up the comforts of life for the adventure and the pursuit of life itself. Because so I would say one of the biggest is you have to get out there and just do it. I went and just bought. There are no excuses, man. Excuses. So when people say, "Well, where's your money come from?" or "Don't you get tired?" or something like this, right? What they're doing is they want to do the same, but they're looking for excuses for themselves to say it's all right not to do it. So, like, "Oh, I can't afford it." Well, I proved that anybody can afford it. Well, I'm not young enough. Neither am I. Well, I can't. I don't have the equipment. I didn't. I just bought any random cheap bicycle. Well, I gotta wait until the weather's better. I didn't. I did it right in the middle of summer, right? The hottest time. Almost got to me. But so don't let excuses get in your way, because excuses just stops you from anything. Even when I was younger and I was traveling, it was like I took off with a few $100s, not knowing where I was going. I just jumped in my car. I think I had $300, and I went up to Washington State and just lived in the back of my car. That was the very first time. That was the most scared I could be, because I was never been without a roof. So so I just went and did, and then I realized it's a lot easier than what your brain really stops you. So if something's this much of a problem and your brain doesn't want you to do it, it'll make that problem this big, and it's not. It's just that big, and it's very easy to have a solution for a small problem. But if your brain causes that problem to be so, ridiculously big, you won't pursue whatever you're doing. So don't let anything stop you, and also put like a driving fact, something like a goal-oriented travel is pretty awesome. Like I said, yesterday I started goal-oriented travel with the Camino Trail, and a bicycle is just an extension of that. Getting a raft and going down river, 600 kilometers, which is in Indonesia. And I think I could safely go to Indonesia, though, if everything's over in Java. But anything. So I would just say get out there and do it. If you guys are thinking about doing it, the only thing now, there is a legitimate thing that actually can slow you down. Wife and kids. So wife and kids always has to come first. I'm not saying that, just pack up your stuff and say, "See you, honey." You take care of the kids until I'm back. Unless she wants to give you off some time, do it. But I do understand that that's a stumbling block that I cannot talk on, because I don't have that problem. But if you're definitely single, there's no excuse. So anyway, I don't really know much of that. I guess that's kind of like the lesson learned, is it's just pure determination to do anything, and then anything can get solved in just determination. So that's how I got so far. I didn't think I could do honestly, I had those self-doubts about doing Vietnam. That was one of the reasons why, well, that and financially was the reason why I picked up a cheap bicycle, because I was like, well, if I can't do it, then I just take the backpack, because I didn't have panniers or anything. I just strapped my backpack to the back. The interior frame on my backpack is what kept it from going into the wheels and sagging down. I just wrapped that down with a bungee cord, and I took off. But I didn't know if I could do it. And Vietnam's the worst spot in the world because of the honking and stuff. And Josh seems to be doing a lot better than I did. Maybe my brain was blowing it out of proportion. He doesn't seem to, have the same attitude. Well, Josh is actually killing it over there with the locals. He's like a rock star with the locals. They all seem to like him. Um, but yeah, guys, make sure you check Hidden Hammock's journey too. He's a very good editor. He's had it for a minute or two. But yeah, he's actually in a location I was kind of at when I had to give up my jacket, my Japanese jacket, that my Mount Fuji one. When I climbed Mount Fuji, I left it at one of the spots. I said, "Hey, go here. This is where I was." So he's actually in that location. I tried to text him that, "Hey, you want to go west to get to the mountains, like beautiful mountains?" And there's actually a cheap location out there. And you just order the food there. They cook it up because there's really no stores around, but they'll get on their motor scooter, go pick up whoever they know to get whatever they need for cooking a meal for you. And the accommodation is very cheap. And so, oh, wow. Hammock Mountain just said now they want you to camp in designated spots on the Appalachian Trail. Well, you know how they have the lean-tos every 10 miles and stuff? You have to even camp outside of that because everybody wants to like pile into that. And so it's like, unless you want a lot of smelly feet and snorers around you, you got to kind of camp outside those zones. So I understand the logic behind it because how dirty man is, regardless if you're a hiker or not, doesn't mean that you actually are very astute in actually picking up your garbage and burying your poo and everything like that. So I can kind of understand why they would want to do that, but the fact is I don't see how they're going to regulate it, honestly. But they could regulate it if they made you camp in designated areas because the Appalachian Trail is a very popular trail and can get busy. If you want to do a through hike, it's going to take you about 5 months unless you're a very quick person. But people section hike, so it's always fairly busy. Not like the Camino though. Doug. Oh, Spinnaker, Doug. Sorry, Spinnaker. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah, the Spinnaker's a friend of mine from the Camino. We're gonna sail around the world together, but he just doesn't know it because, well, he's got to buy the boat. Anyway, yeah, Doug's actually he's thinking about doing the Norte, I think, around in May. And the thing is that's on the other side of the globe. And I have a trail down in New Zealand that I want to take, a long trail down there that goes across both. But somewhere in between, you have to actually, in New Zealand, I'm going to have to, unless I do the top, like the northern island on bicycle and then the southern mountainous route on foot, I'll have to figure out how to extend my stay in New Zealand because that one is how far is it? 35? I'll have to look it up. But it's from the very, very tip to the very, very tip. So across one island, take a ferry to the other island, and it's like one of the longest trails you can do. So, and that's just like right below me. And I have like all the apps, all the topographical apps and stuff for it. So it's like, oh wait, no. Yeah, I can get on Google Play Store and re-download it since it's through my account. So I can get those back. I was going to say that was on my last phone, but I can get it back since it's through Google Play Store. Yeah, Hammock Mountain. Yeah, that's the thing is I know everybody says you do this alone. That's one of the most common things is single one. I'm like, of course, man. I couldn't do this if I had a girlfriend or a wife or even a travel companion. You do a travel companion, you their skill and level is going to be different than your skill and level. So when you want to camp, they might want to be indoors, and then so like even on the Camino though, like when you meet people, the rule is everybody hikes the Camino at their own pace, because if you try and, either slow down or speed up your pace to match someone else, well, then that can be a very, very long 35 days. Man, these commercials are ridiculous. YouTube's just like loading down like if I'm in the chat room every 2 minutes, another advertisement pops up. Well, that's it. I just X out of it. So, yeah, well, grandchildren's not that bad, because because your children, you have the immediate connection that you have to take care of your children. Like, so I grew up in a family with my father, even though we were very poor and stuff, grew up out on the 23 acres out in the middle of nowhere, no electricity, no running water at first, all this, until we were able to sink a well, which is a well is just a pole in the ground. But one thing about my father was he was adamant about putting his family first, wife and kids, and so even though we were poor financially, we were not poor in spirit, so we did free things, like we'd get our sleeping bags and stuff and go up to my dad get the ladder out. We go up to the roof and sit there and just stare at the stars and stuff. That was something free we could do. Watch the bats fly around at night. And it was the simplicity of life and stuff. And then it was the struggle of life. But with that came his way that he raised his children and stuff. And it was a very influential upon me, and that's the way I think, because of my good upbringing, because I had a good family structure, that I know that's the right way. So it's like, to me, that's the right way. So wife and kids are gonna make it where you can't be the traveling vagabond. Now, the only exception to that, like when the dirty kids and stuff like this, you see them traveling around in groups of 3. You're gonna usually never see more than 5, because 3 is like the safe zone, 3 or 4, and dog or 2. There's sometimes the sister of the group, right? And she's usually shacked up with one of them, right? Once in a blue moon, do you see a girl that like dedicates her life to traveling and being a vagabond themselves and just traveling around with the group. But it's cool when you see them, but it's so rare when you do see them that they're always taken, and then they're treated very, very highly respected. That's why we call them the sister of the group, because it's like everybody's sister. So yeah. So anyway, but there's the rare occasion that you could find a woman that actually wants to be a traveling vagabond, but I think that's more of a guy thing, honestly. I think women like the comforts in life a little more than guys, where the guys are more for the adventure. At least that's how I see it. But that's because I'm a chauvinistic pig. Damn straight. But anyway, the tobacco for Josh. Yeah, that's that very strong tobacco in Vietnam. Since quitting. No, it's funny too, because I didn't know Josh was a non-drinker, because everybody's got to have a step 2 if you're going to be stealth camping. And I was like, oh, okay. He didn't forget a stealth 2 or a step 2. He just doesn't pack a step 2. So in Vietnam, he's not turning down the liquor, and because they love drinking that happy water in Vietnam. It was hard for me to do the Hai Gaiong loop. I did an easy rider, and that was part of the package deal. All the accommodations, like where you slept, the food, and all that was all in the price. Well, in that package is happy water, and it was like, no, you got to drink. I'm like, yeah. So I had to hold it up, but then I'd set it down. I wouldn't drink it. I'd give it to someone. But yeah, I don't do alcohol anymore. I can't do alcohol, because I know if I had one drink, back to full time living in a bottle. So that's how much I like it. I like drinking. So, but so much of my life evolved around drinking that I stopped. I stopped in the pursuit of God. That's what it was. So I went on my spiritual Hawaii. It's funny, I went to Hawaii and then quit. Everybody's like, you're not supposed to quit in Hawaii. Um, yeah, it's not. So I really admired the ability to handle discomfort in my eyes, but to you guys, it's like paradise. You and Doug are resilient. But it depends on which discomfort. This is comfortable. Me living in a hostel because my comparing it to is living in a tent, but I was even comfortable in tent. Tennessee, it was paradise, man. It really was because I had my whole tent set up with a little buddy heater with a bigger propane, because I had the adapter cord to it. And the little buddy heater, you can just take off the actual screen in front, flip it upside down, and stick it back in, and it becomes a shelf. And on top of that shelf, I just had what was called it's a wood burning fan that you stick on top of your stove, like your wood stove, your fireplace at electricity. Well, you can get them through like Amazon and stuff like that. And I ordered all my stuff through Amazon because one, I went and got a PO box so I could have an address, at least a fake address, you know. Instead of putting 117 Stewart Road PO box, I put a APT for apartment 132, and they said we know what you mean. So that at least gave the illusion I was living in an apartment. So I had all my stuff sent that way. But you put that on top of the little grill part, right, and it circulates the air around your tent, which is necessary. Actually, it's almost mandatory because otherwise all the hot air goes up to the top of your tent, even with the tarps on. And I had double tarps, 16 by I can't remember, 16 by 9. Yeah, I think it might have been a 16. So I needed two of them because it was one this way and one this way. So, and I have pictures of it. But it was the Coleman Insta cabin, so it has the outer frame, metal outer frame. So that kept an air gap, a dead air space between the tent and the tarps, which caused it not to mildew but it also caused a dead air space where it actually kept the warm air in a little bit better. But the hot air needed to be circulated, so you needed that wood burning stove just to bring down, or wood burning fan just to bring down circulate the air to bring down the heat from the top down, and just keep it around in the tent. You also needed to keep the window open in the tent too, like a little bit. But I was able to set it up where I didn't need it super big cracked. So most of, it was a balancing act. At first the little buddy heater was shutting it off, and I was like, okay, I need a little more oxygen coming in. Anyway, I got to pull up the chat again here, guys. Sorry. So, sorry, guys, rambled on that one. It would. I'm not sure if you guys ever read the book Kentucky, or maybe I think they had actually I think they had a movie on it. But he created his own ship, and his idea was to test the theory that the Hawaiians didn't come from New Zealand, that they possibly came from South America and stuff. And it was legitimate, it was a legitimate experimentation, but that was back in the days that they didn't think anything lived farther than 50 miles off the coast of the ocean, and they're very, I don't know. So actually they took advantage of the fact that, I'm trying to remember his name, but anyway, that's always wanted me I since reading that book, which was an awesome book, I was like, I would love to do something like that. The old Great Adventures and the Safari Club and all that stuff is kind of like a thing of a past. It's like it's like, but not that long ago, there were still parts of the world that were unexplored. I can't believe that. Just a generation past me, you know. It's like, dang. And now it's like, now we got satellite views of everything. We got street views where we don't even have to go anywhere. In Japan, it's funny because street views in Japan, people strap the camera to their head or something and walk down trails. So like if I'm looking for a camping spot, I could actually get on Street View, head down a down a trail and look to the left and the right for like good trees to hang my hammock from. So when I got there at dark, I knew which direction actually to go and where to hang my hammock. Because usually the towns are down here, but you could go up the tsunami evacuation, like the steps to get out of town when a big wave is heading your way. And those were good spots to camp. But the thing is, if you're going to do that, you need to pre-plan which trees you're going to. It stinks to go all the way up and then realize, oh, there's nothing up here where I can hang my hammock. So sometimes you could get like street views and stuff like this down the trails and find locations. And all right, Hammock Mountain. Thanks for joining me, brother. I'm probably gonna. Yeah, I got to wrap this up. We got at 11 o'clock. We got a premiere. I just didn't realize I rambled on for such a long time. So let me go over these real quick. New Zealand. Yeah, New Zealand's next on my list. I've never been to New Zealand. I'm going to camp, so I know it's more expensive, but I'm going to be camping a lot. Yeah, but both, so yeah, New Zealand and Australia are both expensive. But the thing is they're very camp friendly too. Both of those places are, from what I hear. Grandparents are. Yeah, we kind of lost. Well, no, so having the kids take care of the grandparents and stuff, and that was a thing in the United States too. But it became where it typical to put them in the home because it's usually a medical reason, honestly, because they need more full-time care, and it's just too much of a burden for a person that needs full-time care to so we lost that where the kids would end up taking care of the grandparents or the parents when they got older and stuff. But it wasn't that long ago that we did the same thing in the United States. It seems like, yeah, in Asia it still sticks around, but it's, I don't know. I think that there's a little bit of a culture difference. In the United States, there was a big culture shift, actually almost too far. And now there's a little bit of a push back to the conservative side because the progressive side went a little too far, a little too fast. It's like, okay, well, we might eventually get there, but not right now because there's too many people that are still, conservative in nature, Christian. I mean, we have a base of Christianity. Where here in Malaysia, you have a base of Muslim. So you have that conservativeness, and you once you start getting pushed in a direction that you guys don't like, it's like, no, come on, this is not us, you do you, but don't put it in my face and stuff, So it's there's a little bit of a push going back, but okay, yeah, okay, guys. 15 minutes is the premiere, so I'm gonna hop off, guys. Hey, thanks for joining me, guys. If you want to join me, we'll just continue this over in the chat in 15 minutes on the premiere. And this premiere is me going out to the trail and hiking and up the paved road and down the dirt road. And yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone. See you guys. See you guys at the premiere.